Welcome to Next in Leadership. This is where we help you develop your leadership skills, and we are up for some big changes. We're going to have a new studio. We're going to release at 10 a.m. on Tuesdays, and there'll be some live chat available. We'll be on Apple, Spotify, and other places for your podcast in the very near future because we care about your leadership journey and you developing your skills in Next in Leadership. So do be looking for that as we go forward. This next time, it'll just be me. We'll give you some insights about how to develop as a leader, and I'm excited to share those with you as you watch. Hot take. Are you looking for a coach or a manager? I remember being early on in my associate role, really, and the first thing I had was a manager. And I needed that manager, actually. That manager was telling me what to do on a daily basis, directing my day-to-day activities. But as I began to understand the basics, I really needed a coach. And so as a leader, we can either be a manager or a coach. That manager is telling us what to do, and that coach is encouraging us to be better. And so we want to continue to develop that skill with you and for you while you're looking to be a manager, directing daily activities, or developing others as a coach, both of which are important in leadership. It's really a matter of knowing when to use what. On our Next in Leadership Live podcast, we have a very special guest, Rudy Hartmann. He is with the SALT Network, and his story was amazing. I remember hearing about his parents encouraging him to put together those toilet stoppers, and that's how he could earn and learn at the very early stage. His parents were entrepreneurs, and they were telling a story about how in his time, so he could get more TV time, he had to work diligently. But what it really taught him was how to manage his time and how he can be a leader and how that a result then leads to a benefit. And so I'm excited for you to hear his interview and learn about the skills that he can encourage you to be as a great leadership coach. Rudy is doing phenomenal work nationwide, developing leaders, and I'm excited for you to hear his interview on the Next in Leadership interview. Welcome to Next in Leadership, the interview. I'm excited. Today we have Rudy here, and he's going to tell us about his leadership journey. And so obviously, Rudy, as I've gotten started with a lot of these, I recognize that at some point in your life, you were early and someone said you're a leader or you found some leadership skills that were there. So maybe tell us about the beginning of your leadership journey and where you saw some skills or transferable skills that kind of picked up in that early leadership journey. So thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
And I look forward to hearing.
Yeah, Reed, thanks so much. It's been fun to get to know you, and I'm just really grateful for what you're doing right here. My early leadership journey starts in my living room. My parents ran a warehouse as kind of a side hustle for what we were doing, and that'll come up later in my story a little bit as well. But we had these parts that would come in that create the stopper that comes up at the bottom of the toilet back thing. Basically, you flush it, that comes up. Well, someone has to connect those chains and those hooks and those rubber things. That someone was me and my sister. So my sister and I are in a place where we would get handed a box, and they'd say, hey, you can keep watching another show if you finish this box. And then they'd be like, hey, you can watch another show if you finish the next 2 boxes. And so early on, we're put in this situation of, this is great. We have unlimited television time and no bedtime if we can figure out how to get these boxes going. So there is something in that moment. I just remember so clearly this. There's something in that moment that just came alive inside of me. And as I've reflected back on it, I think there were two things that came out very quickly early on in leadership. And the first was I had this weird intuitive productive creativity. There's a creativity that's creative for the sake of being creative. And I'm married to a worship leader. She leads worship at our church here in Ames that I'm a member at and that she works at. And I love her. And I love artists. I love creatives. Sometimes, not a lot that I know, but sometimes it can just be sit in the cul-de-sac for a while. I want to be how do I creatively move towards a productive solution? Sure. And so I just had the opportunity to play with that as a kid. As a child, it's hey, how could you actually figure out how to get more boxes done? Which brought me to the second thing that I learned, which is if I can gamify it, I might be able to enjoy doing it more. Right. So I was just able to find this is a really clear outcome that I'd like to move towards. And if I can gamify it and motivate my 3-year younger sister to do this along with me, we could go and we could watch a little more TV and stay up a little bit later. So it was just really clearly a task to lead, a self to lead, and not employee, but just kind of side by side with my sister, getting to run that out with. Learned a lot. I look back to that and think, man, the opportunity to creatively lead with an end in mind was pretty huge.
I love
That was
that.
big. Yeah, that was big. Yeah.
I love that. And, first of all, thank you for doing that toilet stopper. I appreciate that as a consumer. I mean,
A lot of them.
now I know the whole story, so
That's
ultimately I think that's something that, we don't appreciate. And so I just want to
Yeah.
make sure you were appreciated for that as a child,
For sure.
but I think, that creative productivity is such a leadership principle, because I remember early in my career, same thing. I could be creative and be destructive, or I could be creative and be productive. And I think it's
Yeah.
really orienting around that is a leader's role, is to lead you to productivity. And you can use your creativity to find a better way, right? And ultimately, that's what you're saying. And then ultimately, I think the other thing that you stood out to me is gamify it, right? I mean, business in essence, or any leadership, is progressive in nature. And the metrics we can measure, that is a game, right? That we make progress, is super critical in leadership. And so if we're that, that first person player, right? It's a first person game. How are we getting better, right? And how are we developing our skills? And ultimately, if you've been in a game, and I'm sure there's a lot of listeners here that have played a game, if you stagnate at some level, what do you need to unlock? Right. And so that's what you're sitting there thinking, is like, how do I gamify this? And your unlock was more shows. I mean, that's what you're trying to unlock there. You're unlocking more shows. So I'm like, how do I gamify this? And then you build routine on top of that, right? And so I think that's awesome. And those are early leadership things, and you saw impact there. So continue to expand on that.
Yeah. Yeah, that was it. I mean, I stumbled into creating a system. I remember we just do it by ourselves. And it was like, I bet if you did this part and I did this part, and then we put them in like, we stumbled into building systems for efficiency so we could actually enjoy this more. Not just efficiency for the sake of getting it done faster, but efficiency because we actually saw, again, like what you said, we saw what the unlock was. We saw where we were going. Our parents were really good at that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so I think a lot of people early on, someone identified a leadership trait or a task that needed to be done, in your case, or a little bit of both, and they appoint that to you. But then now you took and unlocked something in you, and you got to take some ownership as you began to lead self. And so now you're saying, okay, it's not just making these toilet stoppers that everyone appreciates. It's now I got to start leading self, and that might have advanced into other areas. So what are some early principles you said, okay, I saw what happened there as an early leadership thing. I'm going to see if I can apply this in areas. How did you begin to lead yourself better?
Yeah, so right back to the warehouse. So I'm in my living room with the boxes from the warehouse. Zoom up about 5 years later, I'm at the warehouse. So I was homeschooled for a couple of years for a few reasons, but I had the opportunity inside of that to be able to do school for the entire morning, and then I had the afternoon set aside while my mom was working at the warehouse, kind of managing the office. And my parents were like, "Hey, would you like a job?" And so 100,000 square foot warehouse. I was given the opportunity right around 12 to sweep it. The warehouses get dirty, they get dusty. There's a whole process for what that looks like. And my parents gave me the gift of being able to learn how to lead myself by giving me an objective, by giving me expectations, by giving me some boundaries, which was important. But then saying, hey, you actually can figure out that process yourself. At 12 years old, I'm getting the opportunity in my first role to figure out, okay, what resources do I need? What kind of broom do I need? There's this stuff you have to lay down on the floor to sweep, and it turns from red to dark. And then when it's dark, it's done. And I got to sweep it and how can I move a trash can easier? And where do I, I'm actually having the opportunity in the afternoons while I'm doing school in the morning, afternoon, I'm working to figure out how to actually lead myself to do that, how to track my time. I actually had a timesheet, how to be responsible for that. There was one time where I lost that timesheet and I brought it to my dad, and I love him so much. And this is a really important lesson he taught me. He was like, hey, where's your timesheet? And I said, I don't know where my timesheet is, but this is how many hours I worked. And he's like, man, I got no proof that you worked those hours. And I was like, well, I came in your car. There's some proof there. I came with you. I left with you. But it was actually a really great opportunity for me to learn the weight of ownership inside of that. And so leading myself, that was huge for me. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a couple things are there, right? If you're someone that's already leading others, give them not a task, give them an objective and a timeline to complete it, and then let them use their productive creativity, which is what Rudy's done, right? He uses productive creativity to say, okay, how am I going to organize this? I'm 12 years old, right? And then how am I going to track my own performance? And those habits, I'm sure you still use to this day going forward.
Oh,
But so many leaders are like, I'm going to tell you exactly how to do it, and you need to do it
mhm,
my way, how I do it. And
mhm.
the benefit of the world is we are all individually created on purpose for a purpose. However, we all have the same boundaries, right? In the most simplistic form, we all have to breathe oxygen
Mhm.
and we have to fight gravity. Okay. Some of us
Yes.
fight it better than others. All right. I mean, you're a little bit more fit than I am. So you're winning that battle better than I am, Rudy. But, I think at the same time as those are boundaries, they got it established for us. And
Yeah.
our job is to how do we apply that going forward? And
Mhm.
your dad did a great service to you. And I think it's also important as how you led self. You didn't resist or fight or disagree with the boundaries. You leverage them and learn them, and that's what accelerated your growth. I think so many
Yes.
times when we lead self, it's like eliminate boundaries, give me free
Mhm.
autonomy to do whatever I feel like, and I'm 12 years old. I know what's best, right? I mean, no one we think that at 12 probably, but we don't know that, and so
I think it
however
less
those
at 33.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So then we build on that leading self well, and we see productivity, and that's where that gamification came in for
Mhm.
you. I'm sure is like how efficiently
Yeah.
you can do that.
Oh, yeah.
But also another part of that story is accountability from your dad, which develops self
Mhm.
accountability, right? Because you didn't turn in your timesheet, and so he's like, "That's how do I know to pay you?" And of course,
Yep.
no 12-year-old is getting there without the assistance of their parents. Maybe
Yeah.
they brought your bike and you rode there, but certainly he's dropping you off. So
Yeah.
he knew
Yeah, yeah,
full
yeah.
well that you were there, and probably saw the results of your productivity.
Mhm.
But I think also as leading others, as much as leading self, anytime you slip one time, that becomes now the new norm. So if he paid you without any accountability and not turning in that timesheet, he's teaching you it's a learned behavior that now you don't have to do your timesheet anymore.
Yeah.
So I think what we don't learn about accountability, even of ourselves, right? Do what
Mhm.
integrity is what doing the right thing when others aren't looking, right? Is
Mhm.
even in that environment, that is now the new standard, right? And so
Yeah.
if he paid you without that timesheet, that became the new standard. And so he was teaching you early self accountability that you build upon. And so, what are some lessons as you continue to advance going forward and right before you
Yeah.
led others that you saw that you were ready to lead others because you led self well? So, what was a time where you realized I'm leading myself so well now? I think I'm ready to step into the next role. Was there anything there that you saw as you continue that journey?
Yeah, I just continued in through so I started following Jesus the summer before my freshman year of college, which meant
Okay,
college looked a lot different than I thought it was going to.
sure.
But it was just a really incredible opportunity to be able to step in and man, I felt like I was given opportunity to lead that maybe outpaced at times like my maturity as a follower
Okay.
of Jesus. And people were really patient with me inside of that. But I had the opportunity to really get to learn up and down the board, like what it actually meant to be someone who was thoughtful about what others were doing and who they were becoming, not to sit there and say, okay, how do I, all those contexts where I'm leading myself initially. I mean, I'm in my living room with my sister. I'm
Hmm.
the person sweeping the warehouse, but now I'm in a context of other people, followers of Jesus, and we're trying to think like, how is the way that I am leading myself actually shaping and influencing and impacting the people that are around me? And over time, what was interesting about that, and again, my mentor Rahul, he pulled me in and was like, "Hey, it actually is going to make sense for you to start to move towards leadership because you're already doing it without a title." Like it was
Mm.
happening as I was maturing, as I was growing in Christ, in life as well. I mean, this is in college, that liminal space between like at home in the world, what's happening here, which is an important, precious space to me and my daily job with the Salt Network and Salt Company. And I just learned so much. And it over time was like, oh, the natural next step is to move from this self leadership that has led to maturity to actually being in a spot where I have the opportunity to get to lead others.
Yeah, and I see, let's even more practically, you're looking down and you're putting a chain
Oh,
on
yeah.
that other place, and then you started looking up and around, right? You're looking
Yeah.
down at a broom. And I
Yep.
think a lot of people look at self, they look at the task, they're keeping their head down, they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, and I'm doing my great job. Why isn't anybody else? And then you begin to lead others when you start looking up and around. And that's where you start looking up and you're looking up all the way up to
Yeah.
Jesus, right? Of course, but then
Yes.
also
Yeah.
looking
Yeah. Yeah.
around to your peers. And then you
Mhm.
realize, and I'm sure this was the case, and you said it was natural, that others need leadership, right? There's a
Mhm.
huge leadership void in America, in the church, in business, right? It's a huge leadership void. And if we're just looking down at what our task is, if we're just looking down and we don't look up and around, we don't realize that others need to be led. And then
Yeah.
early on, it sounds like it was a natural transition for you. At the same time, as I'm sure you're thinking, why not me? Right. I think I challenge people. They say many people have that answer, why me? But in the end, it's like, why not me? And so maybe to
Mhm.
speak a little bit to that as you were leading others, why not you to take leadership? Because maybe you're a little apprehensive. You're just a freshman in college, right? And you're like, what? And so
Yeah.
many times we think, why not me or why me? But if we just add that three-letter word not, why not me? And maybe that was a
Mhm.
transition your mentor developed to you. And then also talk a little bit about early leadership of others and what some of the key learnings were for you.
Yeah. So I played tennis all throughout high school, and a part of that I can just remember this sentence that became kind of the way I shaped my personality. That leads to what you're saying. Where my coach Andrew looked at me one day and he's like, you don't have a ton of talent, but you got a bunch of heart. I was like, all right. And the problem was that was actually it was helpful for me at the time. I'd started later than others, but I was competing at a high level. The shadow side of that was what I created my personality around, which was like, well, I'm going to just get it done no matter what, like no matter what it costs, no matter what it takes, no matter. And then I think that there's some real shadow inside of that. I would say it like this. It was articulated like this to me one day. It's like you think that you're hungry, and hunger is good. Hunger is natural. It's weird if you ignore your hunger. You should be hungry. He's like, you think this guy said to me, you think you're hungry. You're actually starving.
Mm,
You're actually out of like a place of lack. So and there was some shadow inside of that. And the thing is like that was there and that was starting to get worked out, but it actually was in the context of leading others that I started to see, whoa, wait a minute. I need to actually see that get right sized. I need some maturity and growth. And like I want to be hungry, but starving is actually not helpful for the people that I'm leading around me. And it
mm.
comes to the first staff team that I ever led. Okay. So I'm a salt company director. I've been in college ministry for a few years down in Des Moines, Iowa. And I come in and it's me leading my first staff team. And I'm telling you, with all the hubris, unfortunately, of a 24-year-old that's really excited about a mission, like in my head, I'm like, we're going to reach this campus. We're going to introduce people to Jesus. We're going to see them disciple. Like we're going to send them on church plants, all this. What I didn't do was stop and think, I've never led a staff team before. But I really thought like, oh, I'll naturally be quite good at that.
Mhm.
And I wasn't. I was not. And it's not like not out of like disorder or disorganization, but again, some of the good from when I was leading myself and early leadership of the intuitive, kind of self-prescribed, like I know where we're going, come and follow me. It's really hard to transition and transfer to a team without figuring out how to bridge that gap. Or it's kind of like everyone kind of, it was like this, man, you're setting this really high bar and we're also like not clear what the expectations. So there always
Mhm.
feels like there's this gap. And I'll tell you what was important for me, Reed, was I got to the end of that. I was just talking with the guy, Dakota, who we worked together at the time. He helped me see this. He was on that team. He's going to be planting a church in Indianapolis here soon. I love Dakota. We were just laughing about this because it was tough. And we hit a point in that first semester where I just realized I was the problem.
Mhm.
Um, I took an entire weekend. Like I was single at the time, and so I took a weekend, like Friday, Saturday, church on Sunday, Sunday afternoon. Like took the whole time, just voraciously devoured anything I could. I'm like, how do I solve this problem? All that did was make it more clear that the problem was me, and
Yeah.
like how I needed to lead needed to change for the sake of the people I was leading. Put together a plan, read some books, put together a meeting plan, a structured plan, like all these different things, and send an email to my staff saying, "I'm sorry,
Mm,
I've not done this well to start this time
mm.
together. It's actually not you guys, it's me. Here's what we're going to do from here, and I want you to help this continue to be better as we're family on mission together to reach Drake University and the Drake neighborhood." Like that was actually so. What was interesting is like some of the shadow inside of that is like I'm hungry, I'm this actually in leading others got worked out and it continues to get worked out
Sure.
in walking in just humility but also a clear directiveness of leadership. I don't think I lost ambition or hunger inside of that, but there was a shadow to it that got worked out that I learned through leading others.
We know you're everywhere on social media, and so are we. Instagram _Next in Leadership, TikTok at Next in Leadership, Facebook and LinkedIn, Next in Leadership. If you like the World Wide Web, we're on nextinleadership.com. Go ahead and take the quiz. That is a place where you'll see where you're at in your leadership journey so that we can come alongside you and help you develop your skills as a leader that steps into the next leadership role. We're excited to help you and encourage you along your leadership journey. Yeah, and we'll build on that
Yeah.
because you talked about gamification, and you had
Mhm.
defined a game that worked for you. That's the leading
Yeah.
self. It's like you're
Yep.
playing this particular game. It's a high strategy
Mhm.
game. Here's how you earn points. You go in a meeting, everybody else is playing a different game. You know, this person might
Yeah.
like to play Barbies, and you like to play tennis, right? And this person over here is playing a board game. And sure,
Sure.
they're gamifying their lives, but they're in a totally different genre. So they don't care about
Mhm.
playing tennis, which was the game you were playing, like bounce
Mhm.
it back and forth. And like then you realize, wait a minute, nobody even cares to play tennis. They don't care how good I am at tennis. And I was so proud because my coach said I had heart. But I think a lot of times in early leadership roles, and you overcame this, is we don't want to blame self first,
Mhm.
right? We want to say, well, I just have the wrong team, right? Or we just ignore the problem, or we run from it, the opportunity. Instead, you said, wait a minute, what is the only thing I can change? It's me. And then if
Mhm.
I'm going to make a change, where do I find that answer? And I think that's where we seek outside of ourselves, right? And you're voraciously reading. And I'm a big believer too, learning takes time.
Mhm.
And so we can apply that time in a 3-day weekend or stretch that over 3 years, right? I mean, if
Yeah.
you can do 1 hour a week for 52 weeks, or you can spend 52 hours reading that book, right? And type
Yes.
out that email. And I think so few people do that, right? They're thinking, oh, I'll just do a half hour a week. And then that learning you did on that weekend, was a year's worth of learning, and it clarified it, which also accelerated your compounding learning effect. And
Mhm.
maybe that's something for somebody just because I love that story. The learning you do today gets compounded over time.
Mhm.
So if you avoid that 30 minutes of learning and you spread that same, voracious reading over a 10-year period of time, you've then had limited compounding results.
Mhm.
But then you did that in a 3-day weekend and you compounded your results over time.
Mhm.
And then you sent that email. And now what happened next? What did the team reply? They said, you're an idiot. No, it's our fault, right? I'm sure every
No,
employee is like,
it was incredible. So Henry Cloud's got this book
yep.
called Trust. I love it so much. And in that moment, what I didn't realize I was doing it with sending that email, I was just owning it. I was like, "Hey guys, I didn't do this well." Like I'm in my head, I'm like, "How do I live authentically
Yeah.
before Jesus, before others?" Like that. That was that. What I didn't realize, and now I realized in retrospect, is they understood that I understood. They saw my motive, my intent. They saw my character, and it helped me build a track record that actually helped to build trust with the team.
So your
I mean,
humility led to trust.
oh,
Your
yes. I
admitting
mean, oh
mistakes led to
man.
trust. So not
Yes.
sweeping under the carpet, not hiding, super
No.
important if you're listening. Rudy's humility built trust with a team. And then where did that go from there?
Oh, it was like a total 180. Dakota and we laughed about this recently, but I remember the moment where we're in our office and we look at each other and we're like, he looked at me and said, last semester was pretty tough, but this is pretty good. And I was like, I'll run through a brick wall right now. Because for me, I was like, that's what I wanted. And it woke something up inside me. Um, it woke something up inside me that was like, man, I really want to see the people around me flourish. I had this very like, tennis is an individual sport. I have an individual job.
Mm,
Putting the stoppers together is an individual thing. And I come into following Jesus. I'm in the context of community everywhere that I am. And I'm like, oh, I want to see if everybody here starts to flip. Like it changed the way I looked at tennis. I was like, if I'm the worst one on the team, I think I'm still pretty okay. It just means we got 6 people better than me. Let's have a great team. Like it reshaped the way that I started to look at leadership kind of in that fashion. It was an interesting thing to get to experience. Where I sat back, where it really unlocked some stuff for me was like the 2 words that I'd say kind of live at the middle right now of kind of my life calling, if that's good language, is
mhm.
developing potential. That moved me on a path to where I'm like, I am going to do anything. I want to see the potential of the people around me be developed in ways that not only maybe other people don't see, but that they themselves don't see.
Right.
I didn't know it could be that good.
Yeah.
And that was the thing that kind of woke up inside of me to say, I want to keep moving that direction as I'm leading other people.
Well, and
Yeah.
this is a perfect transition. If you're listening to this throughput, right? He gamified himself and learned how to lead self. And then he looks up and looks around, starts to lead others. Now he's saying, I care more about their development.
Mhm.
And I'm actually looking at myself to develop so that I can develop them more, not so that I can get a better score in the game. It's so that I can teach them to be better in their lives and their games. And that is a
Mhm.
natural transition from others to organization. So
Yeah.
when you understand that and you unlock it like you did, Rudy, in your life, and you look at, okay, I
Mhm.
have developed myself, but now I care more about developing others. You're ready to lead an organization. And so now clearly you have a lot of people that you're leading across the country. and they're at different ages, different stages in their development, et cetera. So what are some early organizational leadership things that you picked up along the way? And what has been the most impactful? If somebody's listening saying, if I'm leading an organization, I have a similar story arc to Rudy,
Mhm.
that I had a lot of heart, but not a lot of talent. What do I do next when I'm leading organizations, right? And so,
Yeah.
how do you go from there?
No, it's a perfect tie-in because I want to be the role that guy Andrew played in my life was coach, and I realized like, oh,
Mm,
if I can play the role of coach, actually, that's like the best spot that I can be, and that is kind of my role right now. I'm in a role kind of with Salt Committee National. I'm at a different kind of leadership space that I've been in. I have to lead out of trust a lot. I am in a position where I need to be agile, all these different pieces and things. And really the word that comes to mind that is the most helpful is coach. Like it's not an authoritative thing. It's like a what I want for you thing. And my equation for coaching that has been so helpful in organizational leadership has been this. It's care plus clarity equals coaching. So I need to
mm,
actually care about the person or the people that I'm leading. I need to
mm.
be really clear about what I'm expecting from them, what they should be expecting from me, like what we're doing. Hey, you have a problem in something. Hey, let's be really clear about giving a solution, not just like only empathizing, but actually helping to create pathways directionally forward. And I think that care plus clarity equals coaching. Care without clarity can't has the risk of leading, I think, to like coddling. Like I'm just trying to like make you feel a little bit better, but that's not actually helping you. That's like Band-Aid, the theologian Taylor Swift, Band-Aid over bullet hole, not good, right? It's
Right.
like that's not actually working. But I think on the other side, it's like if I'm only clear and I'm not
Mm,
caring, I'll run the risk of not coddling you, but of crushing you. I
yeah.
will tell you the things that you need to be over and over and over and over again. Kind of that initial leadership that I was operating in because it was candidly again it goes back to the shadow. It was how I was treating myself. Like it's
Yeah.
very difficult to treat other people differently than you're treating yourself. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. To love your neighbors, you love yourself. Maybe there's something there, right? And
Yeah.
so I found that that equation in organizational leadership was really helpful for me to actually be operating as a coach. Man, I really care. I was voice mailing some of these guys that I get to kind of like run with in Salt Company nationally. Cause I'm just like, I am so for you. Like I so care about them. And then I'm on different things where it's like, how can I help? Like, how could it be clear? And that
Right.
leading into the role again of coaching, not again in some authoritative, but like big brother, I've been where a lot of you are. And how can I care clarity to coach? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's great to see the story arc because I mean, your dad gave you clarity and he cared, right? He
Oh,
cared that those toilet
yeah.
stoppers were put together
Yes.
and that and you cared about that. And then that evolved and right, he cared when he was in the warehouse and you're leading others as you're, beginning to step into
Yeah.
that. And now you realize that's the whole purpose, right? Is
Hmm.
to care and provide clarity. And we got to do both. And that's really showing that
Hmm.
long-term empathy as we expand our leadership roles and go forward. And that's also what gets their care and clarity back. Because if we're not as the leader first, we have to lead first, right? If we don't provide care and clarity, they're not going to care about what we're saying and they're not going to provide us clarity on how it's
Hmm.
going. And so
Hmm.
you have to lead with that first as you're doing that. And that, of course, expands impact. And I think also this is the hard part for many new leaders that are getting there. It's really about servanthood, right? I mean, I was thinking
Hmm.
about as you're saying this, all the players, they get the huge NIL deals in college, right? They're the ones that go get the TV commercials. But those coaches, I mean, I don't see them on the NIL deals, right? It's like the coaches are really, they just get blamed if the team fails in the first fired, right? I mean, going forward from that. And that's the power of a coach. And so you have to have a level of humility to step into that role of a coach, saying
Yeah.
that, hey, my job is for you to exceed the performance with which I had. And
Mm.
that's to help
Yes.
entertain or
That's
educate
it.
you earlier in your stage. And that requires humility and servant mindedness, and care and clarity are the servant approach that is critical right there. So you wanted to
Mhm.
expand on that thought?
No, I mean, that's so good. Thanks for helping me see that I learned it from my dad. It is really clear now that actually as you're saying it, he's such a good man. I'm so grateful for him. Um, but yeah, I mean that like I want I spend so much of my time working with guys that are about to step into being a director. And I,
Mhm.
for different reasons, was a director actually three different times at three different church plants across our network. Coming in, kind of starting front end of it. And I sit with him and I'm like, oh, I want you to not do the same things that I did that were not good. And I want you to just So we have this 30 30 30 vision, that a goal that I've kind of got in mind by 2030. Want to be able to be at a point where we've built Salt National to be able to help prepare 30 new directors every year to start 30 salt companies.
Mm,
But also the other piece is reduce the strain of starting by 30%. Just the
mm,
dumb tax that, like, hey, you can actually sit and learn from other guys who have done this. Hey, here's a bunch of resources that didn't exist. Hey, here's like the template for, you don't have to start from zero. You can start from 70% and make it your own in the last 30%. Just like, how can I buy back that 30% of time that has been spent on all these other things, and say you can spend 30% more time with people, you can spend 30% more time with students, 30% more time with staff, 30% more time in prayer, like whatever it is, like let me free up, like that's where I sit back and I'm like, I just want to help. Like, I'm just like, I just want to help these guys to go, to not make the same, not fall in the same ditches I fell into, and go way further, way faster, and deeper in the Lord, than maybe I had the time to, as I was trying to figure it out on my own. But yeah,
and
I'm a part of an ecosystem that already existed. I get to steward now some parts of that ecosystem to help the next generation of guys that are coming up.
but it's leveraging your strengths, right? I mean,
Mhm.
as I listen to this, you're essentially gamifying it, just like making the toilet stoppers,
Mhm.
right? If we do this many, we get the show. The show is all these campuses and all these people launching. That's the outcome
Mhm.
here. The
Mhm.
gamification is just get 30% better, right? Level up in
Mhm.
that process, and you're
Mhm.
gamifying that. And I think that's something, if you're a listener and you're at any stage, whether you're leading self, leading others, or leading an organization, all those principles that started early, right? Is you're like, hey, let's gamify this and let's have productive creativity, right? And now you're getting productive creativity, getting a 30, 30, 30, and you're gamifying it. And then you're
Mhm.
coaching others to the game, right? You're bringing them along to the game. And more importantly, you care about all the others. And so, as we continue to kind of close us out here, Rudy, where do
Mhm.
you see your leadership journey taking you next
Yeah.
as you go forward?
Yeah. The interesting so Salt Company National is a part of the Salt Network, which is a family of churches that love college students and have college ministries called the Salt Company. There's no such thing as a Salt Company without a local church in the network. There's no such thing as a local church in the network that doesn't have a Salt Company. Very simple. We're at 46 university cities across the country right now, which is awesome. We have a list of 403 that we're asking God to raise up a director and a planter for, to see a healthy local church and a thriving salt company at every single one of those 403. Like that's the heartbeat. Like, I don't want any college student across North America to not know Jesus and not be a part of a church that loves them, wants to disciple them, reach them, and send them. And as we continue to grow, like we're like right around 10% of that 403, a little
Mhm.
a little over. As we continue to grow, like what's next is like the exploration of like, okay, what does my role look like at
Sure.
100 churches, Lord willing, or 200, 400? And so the words that have come to mind are agility and portability. I think
Mm,
those are the two words that need to shape my leadership and like leadership thought kind of going forward here. Agility to think, okay, well, at that stage, we're going to continue to learn as we continue to steward the growth that God seems to be bringing, that we're grateful for. Like, how do we continue to be agile to that, responsive to it, provide what's most helpful for these guys in it? Continue, like, just different aspects of what we do around recruiting, resourcing, weekly director call, all these different things. Our staff training is coming up in a few weeks, and that's going to be 350 staff in a in one location. How do we continue to do that when it's 1,000 staff? Like those sorts of things, agile around it, and then portable. Like, how do we not create monuments that are kind of slowing and anchored, but actually portable resources towards movement where we can see it proliferate and see it be portable across the bar. We have several that are like that right now, but continuing to assess like what needs to remain and become portable to be able, again, to help the most amount of guys to not have to get caught up in the weeds of like organizational leadership or all these other
right.
things, but actually, again, be pastors, like be with people, be able to help shepherd the people that the Lord's bringing.
Well, that's a great objective and goal, and I know there's going to have impact. I've gotten myself involved in the Salt Network myself, and I'm watching it. And you guys are doing great things. You really are, and I think you're on mission, you're on vision, which is part of being a great organizational leader. You see the gaps, you're going to address them and work towards them, and I'm excited to be a part of it. And the other side of that I see is those 400 campuses are literally, I think, over millions of students.
Yeah.
And those millions of people will then have families, and we'll have hundreds of millions of impact, right? Because they're going to be the next in leadership. That's what we're building right here, right? Yes. I mean, the people at 20 will be the workers of the next generation right now. And so if you're listening and you're saying, hey, I'm at that 20 and I don't realize the responsibility of leadership, and maybe I'm just sitting in front of my own TV and I'm doing a menial task, which could be making toilet stoppers. What would you tell them right now? If they're that kid, right? They're 18 and their dad's making them do something. Where are they, 18 to 20, that they can leave right now and decide, you know what? I am going to change my future. And I love Rudy's story. What can I do right now if you're talking to another Rudy at 18 years old?
Yeah, I would say, then, like, really, if you're not a Christian, really explore the claims of Jesus and find a healthy local church that is glad that you're there. As a college student, genuinely, like, look at the Bible, like look into those pieces. If you are that would be like the first desire that I have for you, and then continue to like live into the life maturing experiences that come throughout college as you kind of live your life continually towards Jesus. I think you'll find deep formation happens in that place. As you know and follow Jesus, and you're like, man, I really actually want to be a part of something like what you just described, Rudy. Yeah, you can check out saltnetwork.com. Like, we'd love to be able to get connected with you. If you're about to graduate, or you're looking at graduating, and you're like, man, I'm thinking about even like ministry. Is that even on my horizon? We have a form on there that you could actually fill out, and you get connected with us. And we have a bunch of residencies across the country, and there's always opportunities and openings across the network for new residents to be able to come in after they graduate. And then, yeah, maybe, if you're older and you're like not going to be a resident, already established in my job, maybe this would be something you're like, hey, I actually could see that as something I want to just learn more about, not to pray for, be a part of. Like, again, thesaltnetwork.com would be the best place to be able to go to check out some more of what we're doing, what we're seeing. But man, overall, if I was going to latch onto something for someone, I'd be like, man, if you have a place to lead, care about the people that you're leading, be really clear and step into. I'd go back to that equation if I was going to sum everything up into one thing. That would be the thing I'd want to bring people back to.
So one, make a personal decision to be better.
Yeah.
And directionally, I've met a lot of people that are Jesus followers, and I've seen materially their lives are better. So that's the first step. Second, do what he was doing. Care about others more than yourself. And if you lean into that, and you'll have a leadership journey similar to Rudy's. Well, Rudy, thank you so much for taking the time here. I know you're going to have an impact across these campuses, and I can't wait to celebrate with you when we're on 403 campuses and there's millions of lives being impacted, and it's multi-generational, right? Because then you get the significant others. You were single, you found a wife, you have children now, you're leading a family. That family's going to have multi-generational impact. And so that's where we can be at. That's what Next in Leadership is all about. And if you enjoyed this episode, we have multiple episodes that we're recording each and releasing each week of people just like Rudy that tell their journey, of which then you can apply in your life. And so do link and subscribe, and we're excited to hear about your journey on the Next in Leadership. Have a great week.